Space. It's dark. It's endless. And it's probably full of VHS tapes? Okay, let's be honest. It doesn't really make a great deal of sense to give a show that's about digging into the past a space theme. But on the other hand, Grim already took the mining thing for a science fiction show, so I guess we're stuck with space. And so, let's get into Nostalgianaut.
Mother Pig doesn't want to leave.
Well, for a tape labeled Albert and Lulu, this VHS is pretty much exactly what I expected it would have on it. Namely, recordings of the two shows Albert the Fifth Musketeer and The Little Lulu Show. The tape is just over 3 hours long and has on it a fair few episodes of both shows, and remains pretty good quality, showing very little deterioration. There are also no ads on this tape, so there's not much I can comment on in that regard, past this short snippet of an ABC between-show channel recognition marker. These were just short little bumpers a lot of channels would put on between shows to remind people what channel they were watching, which might seem strange and archaic, but hey, that's what they used to do. The ones on ABC Kids were more often than not weird nightmare fuel, whether they be unsettling claymation, strange stop-motion shorts about singing cows and musical vegetables, or whether they be hellscape early CGI. This one, as you can plainly see, falls under the latter category. The bumper only goes for a few seconds, but those seconds have fused into my brain, where they will remain until the cold embrace of the crypt finally opens to reclaim my soul. So there's that to look forward to. Also captured just before the episodes of Little Lulu are the final few seconds of some unknown English show, or French show. The credits look French, but the audio is very English, so I guess it is dubbed maybe? I have no idea what the show is, but it's super unsettling. I mean, just watch this.
Didum Rabbit, little cheeky grim, but still very dim.
Then Didum Rabbit giggles and runs after them, shouting,
Big cheeky rabbits!
because now Didum Rabbit nearly talks quite well.
That little head tilt at the end there, the weird dialogue? Why are his friends circling him and calling him dull? Why can he only almost talk? What cult rituals are going on here? The credits of this horror show list the copyright as 1996, which I guess was the golden age of disturbing the hell out of your children with truly unsettling television programming. The weird ABC bumper came straight after this show, so if little Jimmy was watching these two things back to back, chances are he wet the bed that night. The two main shows on this tape are, unsurprisingly, what the tape is labeled for, Albert the Fifth Musketeer and the Little Lulu Show. What surprised me as I sat for this tape's 3-hour runtime is that both shows still hold up pretty darn well today. Albert was my favorite of the two as a youngling, and I can definitely see why. It has a manic slapstick and absurdist humor that runs throughout the whole thing, though I would be surprised if any youngling actually was capable of following what was going on here with the plot, as the whole thing is practically nonsensical. Even watching it now as an old fart, I was just completely confused the entire time. On top of the multiple countries and titles thrown around and references to 17th century politics, there are also about 1 billion different plot points that are thrown around, introduced and immediately abandoned each episode every few minutes. Regardless, it is definitely entertaining, even if it does quickly fry your brain. But I suppose that's probably to your advantage, as the show is targeted towards infants and you really don't need your brain if you're watching it. And after all you really need to remember while you're watching it is that the Musketeers are good and that the Cardinals Guard are bad. Although I do remember that one of the best things about this show is Albert's assortment of weird technology. Though past his famous spaghetti blunderbuss and a pair of rollerblades, few of his technological achievements make an appearance throughout the episodes on this tape, so that did slightly disappoint me. Moving on to the other titular show, the Little Lulu Show surprised me greatly, as I think I actually enjoyed it more rewatching it now than I did when I watched it back in the day. The show is fairly witty, still has a fair share of cartoony moments, and has a lot of heart. I liked it best when Lulu is scheming or scamming, which she does a lot in the episodes I have here, and I would legitimately seek out more episodes of this show if I was looking for a cartoon to put on in the background while I worked. Though, chances are I won't need to do so, as there are no doubt more episodes buried on VHSs floating around in space. Remember, that's the theme we're going with here. A lot of these episodes from both shows had strange and absurd moments, but a few that really stood out are, firstly, at one point the king in Albert the Fifth Musketeer gets really angry because his wife is replaced with a fat imposter, and he's just super annoyed that she's gotten so fat, until they play Leapfrog, which he enjoys, and then when his real wife is back, the king is sad that she won't play Leapfrog with him like the other one did. Now I'm sure there's some not so subtle euphemisms going on there, but I'm not going to get into that. Also, I swear the lyrics to the theme song for Albert the Fifth Musketeer are, if you want something sordid, like your enemy slaughtered. The internet says that the lyric is actually thwarted, but I don't know. You listen and you decide.
If you want something sordid like enemy slaughtered, then Albert's your man.
And then into the weirdness of the little Lulu show, her fat friend is called Tubby, and he seems completely okay with that. There's also this one episode where all of her friends refuse to go to her birthday party, but then at the last minute throw her a surprise party, and it is presented as a happy ending. But, like, her friends still knowingly made her spend the entirety of her birthday thinking that they didn't like her. So, even though it was just to surprise her at the end of the day, it was still a weird and unnecessarily cruel thing to do. But on the other hand, maybe your friends wouldn't be so cruel to you on your birthday, Lulu, if you didn't give them mean nicknames. And then, finally, the tape cuts off at about the 3-hour and 5-minute mark, halfway through a Lulu episode in which Tubby and Lulu have gotten hairy palms. Yeah, no comment there. Moving on. The tape ends before they find a solution, but I'm guessing it was religion, maybe. And that's tape 1 reviewed and cataloged. Only about 1,000 more to go. Tune in next week for Nostalgianaut Tape 2, marked Smallville, the 1st of the 12th, 06.